Committee of the Whole to order on Tuesday, April 19th at 3:30 p.m. We are holding our meeting here in beautiful downtown Powell River on the shores of the Salish Sea in the territory of our friends, the Pla'amin Nation. I've got an agenda today. Do we have any changes or omissions? Councilor Brewer.
I'd like to add an item of correspondence we received about cannabis, medical marijuana.
So through the chair, that would be the email from Ari Dublion regarding the medical cannabis dispensaries.
Yes.
So that could be 4.2.
All right. And any other changes or deletions? All in favor of the agenda? Unanimous, thank you.
We need a motion. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, motion to adopt? Sorry.
So moved.
So moved, Councilor Hathaway. Seconder? Thank you. Councilor Leishman, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. All right, and first up, 2.1, minutes of the regular Committee of the Whole meeting held April 5th, 2016. Motion to adopt, seconder, Councilor Plum, seconder. Councilor Leishman, any comments, changes? All in favor?
Aye.
I think that's unanimous.
Bye.
Bye. 3.1, delegations. Ann Nelson, Patricia Theatre, and Janet Southcott regarding Boulevard Garden at the Patricia Theatre. Take it away, ladies.
That's my backup. Thank you for the privilege of addressing you today. I have a project, a proposition to put to you, a collaborative proposition that I hope will interest you all. I brought some photographs to illustrate what I want to talk about and some solutions. And that's where the solutions are where I need the collaboration. I'm hoping that it can be, that could become a demonstration project to remediate permeable areas that are creating issues with storm runoff, and it isn't just an issue for the liquid waste treatment plant, and it isn't just an issue in terms of flooding occasionally. It creates further issues downstream for this untreated water in terms of where it's entering our fish habitats. And there's been a lot of work done in Seattle and Portland, which are the most similar to our experience in terms of climate and weather and topography and the salmon concerns, that shows that stormwater that has had an opportunity to be captured in a bioretention area, slowed down and allowed to filter itself through a carefully layered, a lasagna of soils and rocks and whatever, can become totally clean without any chemical intervention, no mechanical intervention. It's just a natural process. And because we live where we're fortunate enough to actually be on a glacial moraine that I think goes all the way to China, at least it does in town site, we have an additional advantage for not having to do a lot of removal of soil and then building up the soil. So my problem at the front of the Patricia, this is where it gets interesting. This is a photograph, of course, of the Patricia. And you can see, looking from across the street, how where the building sits, where it is in relationship to that paved boulevard, and the curbs that are there in the street. It is like climbing Mount Everest in the winter when it's slimy with moss and algae. This is a picture from 1945. Again, that was before the street got regraded. They had used a system of boardwalks with cleats so that people could actually climb the slope to get up the sidewalk. And we had street trees. We had street trees all up and down Ash. And when town site was planned, it was more, I think, about aesthetics. I don't think that the science of how CO2 can be captured by the trees and how much good they do for our health was understood. But it certainly was very forward-thinking for the time, and it's something that town site heritage and we have been trying to recover. And there's a picture of the original theater, 1932. And again, you can see, I wish I had one of those laser pointers I keep confiscating, but you can see that there were street trees even then on both sides of the street. So here are a series of photos of our current boulevard. And you can see that it's like, it twists and it turns like a roller coaster because of the attempts to integrate the change in the grade of the street with the curbs, with the sidewalks, with the boulevards. And it is a menace. It's really dangerous. So you can see right here where the handicap zone is, people whose well-meaning caregivers bring them up to the curb and dump them out, have then got to step up and over a curb, tripping over it as many times as not. Shirley Girardi got dragged the other night when, never mind him, it was just horrible. But it is a real issue for us in terms of safety. There's an angle that shows how quickly that drops away. You can just see the top of the fire hydrant down at the intersection. So this is a conceptual drawing of what it could look like. Same facade, same grade, same all of that. If we were permitted to excavate and dispose of the asphalt that is currently paving that boulevard, working with the city's engineering crew to make sure that we weren't interfering with any of the infrastructure. We know that there is one water shut off for the fire hydrant in that strip, and actually excavating it down to a level, so there was a gradual level grade up from the crosswalk up to the alley, and there would have to be a retaining wall to hold that highest point up and a little safety fence. We know that. It would discourage people from trying to cut across in the dark in the middle of the winter and trying to scale that hill. And it could be planted again with street trees and could have a very diverse mixture of vegetation growing in their native plants that would be attractive and very resilient because they're used to the climate and the conditions. And it would be pretty, but that's not what it's all about. This is not about aesthetics. This is about health and safety and environmental concerns as far as we're concerned. This is an overview, well, a top view of Google Maps, thank you, that shows pretty much what we're proposing. Taking it from the back of our property, which is right on the corner of the lane. And yes, there is a storm drain right by that telephone pole that I clean daily in the rainy season, because the water comes firing down that lane and out of the driveway over at the church and turns the corner and shoots like a gold mining flume right down the sidewalk and down the boulevard. And there's always a huge amount of sand caught right at the wheelchair drop, at the letdown there. So that is a proposed reconfiguration of that space so that we could reintroduce 4 street trees and do some bioretention areas as well as some rain boulevards. The bioretention areas I'm hoping would be feasible all the way down. If not, then at least a rain garden where it could go in through the perforated pipes and into a storm drain. I think all of you have been introduced to the idea of how a rain garden works. Essentially traps the water long enough so that the plants with deep roots can carry it down into the subsoil. There's a berm on the downhill slope, obviously. There's another cross section. This ponding area is only 3 to 8 inches in depth, and it shows a runoff grade very similar to what I'm having to deal with. And this ponding depth has a 6 to 12 inch, which is more typical, really, if you're going to be collecting a lot of water. This is an example of some rain boulevards in the Pacific Northwest, and you can see in the one on the far right, they do in fact have a grated drain into the storm system. These others are true mini bioretention areas, and the access for the water is through cutouts in the curbs that were pre-existent. So all the curbing doesn't have to be pulled out, you just cut through what you need to allow the water to pass into it. This is a very, very simple, very primitive. You can see where they've got walkways going across with graded areas so the water can flow from one cell to the next. And this is an example of where they're not dealing with curbs. They've just got those little rounded shoulder things. This is a beautiful one where they've got a little waterfall for the cells. Again, a lot of cities have used these as bump outs for bus stops and traffic calming. There's a very primitive one, very basic. You see where they just cut into the old curb and they've created 2 ponding areas where it's held until it actually percolates away. Another Vancouver one. Another Vancouver one. This is UBC. This is California. Anybody who's ever visited California in the winter and has had to try to surf their vehicle across an intersection during a rainstorm knows that they know what they're talking about in terms of dealing with storm runoff. And again, they're using the cutouts from the gutter, and they're grated, and they go over to the bioretention area. This is a lovely Seattle one, lots of water. So that's pretty much Those are beautiful. What I'd like to do is a demonstration project in a highly visible location in town where we can remediate an issue that is causing concerns for health and safety as well as environmental concern. Inspire people to look for other opportunities around town where this can happen. And I'd like to encourage council too to look at putting signage up where they're already using it. Your own engineering department has encouraged a bioretention pond up by the academy. Anybody that just looks at it thinks it's just a bunch of cattails and it's cute. They don't know that it's purpose designed and purpose built. And the same with the plantings at the North Harbor. And same with the plantings on, well, the swales and the Bain Boulevard, Green Gardens up on Selkirk, the far end of Selkirk. There are other areas in town that could benefit from the same treatment. Even the Timberlane development has got a lot of water coming down it, and it doesn't have sidewalks, it doesn't have boulevards, but it could have bump outs that could capture that runoff and trap it and allow it time to percolate through the soil. So all I'm here for is to ask permission, come play with me, and let me play with the engineers and see what we can do to fix this one.
Mayor Formosa.
Thank you very much, Ann. I agree there's a safety issue there. So what I'm hearing is, money-wise, is this part of the crowdfunding that you generally do for the facility? Are you looking to the city? And as part of that same question, if it's not and it's something you're looking at doing, then there's issues with our union and
Yes,
such like that. So I just want to throw that out, and thank you.
Any other comments, Councilor Leishman?
Yeah, I think, and that something like this would be a really good demonstration project for, you know, a good use of gas tax dollars. If we could partner somehow, if the city could partner and have some kind of, like, it sounds like Ann has potentially volunteers that could do a lot of the work, so if there could be some kind of an arrangement looked at with the union to partner so the city didn't have to do it all.
Councilor Hathaway?
Hi, is that city property or is
City.
that, so it is city property?
Absolutely.
Yeah, the property line is the edge of the building, right?
Oh, the edge of the, okay, so the sidewalk and everything is all city property.
Mr. Fraser
the
might have some,
sidewalk is
Mr.
double
Fraser
wide.
might have some clarification.
Through the chair, staff would seek direction to work with Ann about checking out the feasibility and possibilities of this. I think it's exciting. There's a safety hazard there, and there's a lot of experience in urban centers with something like this, but they're all unique, so they take a little time to investigate. I think Ann's done an excellent job of research to this point, so staff would be very happy to be directed to work with Ann to see if there's some options we could pursue. And we have Mr. Bogarts here from Parks and Rec, so we have a shiny new landscape architect sitting in front of him named Jason.
Townside.
He works for the city, ma'am.
Lives in Townside. Mayor Formosa.
Yeah, I just want to give everybody a little history lesson. A number of years ago, the Chamber identified a lot of these areas that were paved in throughout the community, our boulevards and areas, key intersections, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And we offered as a chamber to work in conjunction with the city, raising funds, doing volunteer work in conjunction with the union. And, you know, it burned and crashed. We had a volunteer committee of about 50 people, almost overnight. Professional landscape architects that were retired in the community, the garden club. It was just phenomenal. We ended up having to go to the town center and rent a room. And after, you know, 6 months of pushback from the city, and not just the city, but the city, everybody lost hope, and we all left. And I guess the issue is, you know, this is city land, pavement projects, that what they did was they filled everything with pavement. It was cost-saving measures. And so, you know, we wanted to do the community in blooms. We brought that forward. Wanted to beautify our community. Chamber thinking that was a good thing for the city. And looking at Comox Courtney, looking at Parksville. And anyway, it just didn't ever happen. So if we do something here, we gotta be prepared to be able to do it everywhere. You know, and if we're gonna be, you know, looking at a model, if it's half funded by the, you know, the owner in front and half the city, or all by the city, or what have you, if there is a deal where the union has agreed to participate, you know, that would be Ray's, Mr. Bogart's area to work out, you know, a report is a good idea, but there is a number of areas within the city that could use some of this type of treatment. And, you know, we can look at safety first. You know, in this regard, you have people lining up or coming to and fro, and you're on that angle, and so, you know, it's a good start, but we need to think of the, you know, that old project, and we need to think of the other areas, and, you know, where does it lead? I'd love to see all of the pavement dug up that we've gone around and paved over to save funds, but it's manpower, it's finances, man and woman power. I can see our gardener who's telling me she is now going to soon be 65 years old, and she was on her knees out there. Barb, or her mother was Barb. Brenda Kaufman, or Brenda Powell, 65 years old, loving her job. But that's what it takes. It takes labor. These things are labor intensive. They can be designed to be not labor intensive. So I just want to give us these thoughts. That's all. Thank you.
Councilor Leishman?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I think the other areas, you know, if we were to take on a demonstration project as an initial pilot to see how it works, see what it comes in at, how, you know, the maintenance of it, then there could be other locations designated down the list that it could be an ongoing, you know, that could be the default that you try to go towards rather than just paving everything. This might even qualify for Green Municipal Fund stormwater funding, so as a pilot project. So we might actually even be able to get funding for the project.
Councilor Southcott?
Being back and forth in and out of the North Harbour, there's a rain garden all along the between the pavement and the riprap that edges the harbour. And my impression, I know I have seen city crews down there doing some cleanup, but my impression is that that is a kind of a low maintenance one. So I think my impression is that there can be, you know, they can be built beautifully, like some of the pictures that you showed, Ann, and yeah, those are gardens that really need maintenance, but it can be done in a less, like, probably this area would be one where maintenance would be
basic.
a pretty one would be a good idea right in front of the Patricia.
It would, but it
in
would be as basic as that.
But in some other areas, I wonder, and so that causes me to wonder how many other areas there really are in town. Because I think, like according to the principles that you mentioned, this is very healthy for the environment, both the environment in the community, but also the marine environment where all the stormwater ends up. There are slicks in the harbor that come out of the stormwater. So that happens periodically, not very often, but so that's something that we want to, you know, protect against, I think, as well. Thank you.
Councilor Palm and Councilor Hathaway?
Thank you, Through the Chair. I just want to say, Ann, thank you for a great presentation. Very well put together. You put a lot of effort into that, as we can tell. And it's just unfortunate that the old picture you showed didn't have the old Union Jack in the corner of the Canadian flag at that time. But you've got the Canadian flag flying. God bless you. So anyway, getting to the point, these type of high-profile areas, I really like the idea of a pilot. Let's work with our city staff, see if we can make this happen for all of the reasons that have been outlined here. Because when you look at across the way at Courtney or Parksville or wherever, as the mayor brought up, man, that's just a shame. So this would be a nice place to start, high profile. I'm sure there's a lot of other high profile areas that have been identified in the chamber study that the mayor talked about. So I'm all for blessing this high profile area. Thanks, Ann.
Thank you. Councilor Hathaway?
Thanks. So I think there's been lots of input, great idea. I concur that I think we have enough information, we can direct staff to come back with a report on all that input you heard, you know, feasibility, costs, union issues, all those things that you've heard, and come back with a report on how or if we should proceed.
Thanks.
Recommendation.
So
That's
what I'm hearing through the chair is direction to staff to work with Van to investigate the feasibility and options for a demonstration rainforest in the Boulevard area in front of the Patricia Theatre and report back to council.
Thank you.
Can I make a-
I don't think we need to create any wheels here because, as you pointed out, there's plenty out there.
Just a quick comment. One thing that we ran across back in the day was that in order to facilitate this idea, if you just think of the intersection of Alberni and Marine. Alberni and Marine, and we have that, is getting water to it, and that was an expense, because if you put stuff like this in, staff can't be going all the time, so it's got to have a self-watering thing. And so that runs into
That's
big
the-
money.
That's the point.
Yeah, through the chair, staff, including myself, had a lot of experience with these, and it's where you design it at the natural runoff or the plantation itself doesn't need that much water, zero-scaping or whatever. It's all achievable. It's just done with the right things in mind.
Thank you.
Quickly, Councillor Salcott.
Could I ask also that the study be, just a quick survey of what other areas in town might, is that relevant to this?
This would be
Through the
pilot.
chair, this won't take too long at this scale. Scoping out the whole city would take a while.
This would be a pilot.
Just through the chair, one other comment that was for Madam Clerk, and that's our volunteer policy. If we were to establish and put this together with the help of Ann and her colleagues in the area, would we be able to sign up as volunteers and
Through the
for
chair, there would be a few members of staff, probably the Director of Infrastructure and the Director of Parks, Recreation, Culture, and they're very well aware of the volunteer policy, so that would have to be implemented into it as well. And that would come back with the report.
All right.
Thank you so much for
Thank
the
you.
opportunity.
If I could ask through the chair, Ann, could you email me your presentation?
Oh, this?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, just give her the-
Thank you.
That's airmail, not email.
Sure, thanks.
Take that as direction.
Yeah, I did, yeah.
All right. Moving on to correspondence, 4.1, letter dated March 20, or received March 22nd from Richard Dignard regarding a change to backyard burning month. Mayor Formosa.
Thank you. So I looked at the letter from the gentleman, personally concur with his thoughts. Actually went and got my wife's best gardening practices in British Columbia. Read through some areas around October, November. And I think the conclusion that I came to, and a little bit of homework I did, was that right now we burn in April and November. And by November, people are done. They want to stay in by the fire, get warm. You know, it's raining, it's not as nice. October, your gardens are winding down, you're pruning your trees, you know, maybe September, October. And at that particular time, you're burning the excess stuff in your gardens and yards. And I know that, you know, from I guess our own point of view, it would make more sense to do this in the month of October than November, again, because, you know, you've moved forward, the season has changed, it's not as conducive to be outside working and such, so that's my two bits.
All right, thank you. Councillor Hathaway, then Councillor Brewer.
Thanks. Yeah, we received, I think everyone received it, but I'll read it out for the benefit of everyone. Input from the Fire Chief, Dan Ouellette. And he said, for your information, the residential backyard burning bylaw has been amended a number of times over the years in relation to the designated burning months. If the current bylaw was amended as suggested, there would be members of the public that would be opposed. And I personally have seen that. Keeping in mind that fire seasons are becoming hotter and longer, do we want open burning in October? Lastly, the province could prohibit open burning well into October due to extended extreme fire danger, making this change pointless. Thank you, Dan Ouellette, Fire Chief. So the Fire Chief is recommending against it, and personally, in my experience at the fire department, no matter what month you made it, somebody would be opposed to it and want a different month. So in light of his input, and the summer's getting longer and hotter, which I'm not opposed to, but I would suggest we just leave it as it is. We've had one person, right, so at this point in time, leave it, would be my suggestion. Thank you.
Councilor Brewer?
Yeah, I would agree with the fire chief on that one. Just working in the forest industry where we used to perhaps burn piles in October and early November, that's led to problems over the last half a dozen years with fire season extending longer, the conditions are a lot drier, so people have had to change their behavior and burn later than they would otherwise. So I think this could lead to an increase in fire risk within municipal boundaries if we moved it up. So I'd prefer to leave it as is myself.
So just receive the letter, is that council's wish?
Yep, open file.
No problem.
Is that everyone's wish to receive this letter? Okay.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, 4.2, letter from Ari Dublier regarding medical marijuana. Councilor Brewer, would you like to speak to that?
Sure, thank you. So we did receive a letter from Ari Dublier just speaking to the issue of the dispensaries, and obviously it's in a bit of a jurisdictional void, this whole issue of dispensaries and medical marijuana, and different communities are dealing with it differently. Ideally, the province should be stepping up to this issue, as with many issues, but they're not at the moment. Federally, there's a mandate letter from the Prime Minister to the Minister of Justice and the AG saying, create a federal, provincial, territorial process that will lead to the legalization and regulation of marijuana. So with that in mind and realizing we're in a jurisdictional void, I kind of like the direction that Port Alberni, and I think Victoria and a couple others are taking, where they're looking at what some regulations would look like from a municipal perspective. I think we should look at that as well. I realize we keep piling additional work on the staff, but I think we need to be thinking about it, looking at it, and maybe coming back with a report on options on what that could look like. And there's a number of communities now we can lean on and borrow from to help us do that. I think that would be a reasonable use of resources rather than trying to chase these guys down and make it a focus for sure.
Mm-hmm. Councilor Hathaway?
Thanks. I think this is becoming a nightmare for local governments across the province, and I hope will be something that UBCM takes on. Although it's not even a UBCM jurisdiction, and I'm not sure it's provincial, it's a federal jurisdiction, and it's becoming a nightmare. Where, and this came up, I think at the last UBCM, where people were speaking about the federal government putting it on local governments to control marijuana operations, whatever they might be, with bylaws. Like, it just isn't making any sense. The federal government needs to take some sort of firm action, but until then, we're in this predicament, and it's kind of a criminal bylaw, local bylaw issue. Do we deal with it through the RCMP? Because at this point in time, it's a criminal offense. Or do we deal with it as local government through a bylaw and say, well, you don't have a business license? And if they're a non-profit, I don't know what's in our bylaws that says we could compel them to provide us with financial statements and other documents showing that they in fact are a non-profit and are doing good for the community, whatever. That's not really where I want to go, but I think we really need to do some brainstorming on this, and I would like to initially, as I'd requested just before the letter came in, coincidentally, was a meeting between sort of the Protective Services Committee, which is myself, the mayor, Mr. Fraser, and the RCMP staff sergeant, and I'd like to include Madam Clerk because she's our bylaw expert, and to see what's the best route for us to go. Like, I don't want to jump in any Chilliwack. They closed down, the very same company closed them down, and they simply reopened down the street. So everybody's kind of digging in their heels and leaving it to little local government councils to say, well, do something. And so I think clearly it's not our jurisdiction, but we really need to take some sort of action. But I'm really unsure at this point in time as to what that should be. So with the agreement of council, unless you want to do it as a committee of the whole, I'd like to do a smaller committee, the Protective Services, and come back with a recommendation.
Any other comments? Mr. Fraser?
Through the chair, the staff's anticipated that you were going to have this discussion, obviously, we talked about putting it on the agenda, so just a couple of things for the benefit of committee. The sale of marijuana outside the Health Canada regulated system is illegal in Canada. It's a federal jurisdiction, as Councillor Hathaway has said, and you cannot control whether they proceed or not with that. So that's just, quite frankly, it's not your jurisdiction. You just put that one aside about what the federal government does about it, and the federal police force, that we pay part of their costs for municipal activity. I suggest to you the city is a law-making authority, and as such must respect the laws of other authorities, or else city council should expect residents to pick and choose which city bylaws and regulations they're going to follow. Okay. But perhaps more germane to the conversation, the city of Abbotsford recently won an injunction against the operation of the dispensary, and the decision is being appealed. Rather than waste taxpayers' money on a similar effort, the city should wait, in my opinion, the city should wait for the results of that appeal before seeking an injunction, as just one of the options to consider. I'm not saying pursue the injunction, but Abbotsford that is being appealed, and there will be a final decision shortly. And as you're aware, the city of Victoria conducted a community engagement process, which is this book, in August 2015 regarding the municipal regulation of marijuana dispensaries. I'm unaware whether the Victoria Council dealt with this alone, but this report did not address the legal and legislative issues that marijuana sales are illegal outside of the Health Canada regulatory system. So this presupposes what way they're going to regulate. Okay, and it talked from a business sense and such, but it doesn't deal with the ethical issues of whether it's legal and whether it's within your jurisdiction. So therefore, it's a staff recommendation to consider delaying any injunction against marijuana dispensaries in Powell River until a successful defense of the current appeal against the lower court decision in favor of the city of Abbotsford's injunction against the operation of a marijuana dispensary. So just that one, what would ordinarily be a municipal tool, I'm suggesting to pause on that at least until the Supreme Court hears the appeal, or the appellate court hears the appeal of the Abbotsford issue. Doesn't take away from Councillor Hathaway's suggestion, but as a tool, I don't think it's prudent to use the one tool we have, which is injunction, at this time.
Mayor Formosa.
So, Mr. Fraser, are you suggesting that we just allow the two dispensaries to carry on until this ruling? Because you, myself, and Councillor Hathaway sat with our chief of police, and their intention is that they're illegal and they want to close them until such time as the government changes the rules, because they've allowed, there are medical marijuana rules. If you need it, you can go to your doctor, prove your need, and you get the opportunity to grow for yourself, or you can have a professional grower grow, because they're allowed to grow for up to 3 patients, and then you get your medicine, or you can pay the people in Nanaimo that are close, or the people in Whistler that are close, for your medical marijuana, and they mail it to you. Other than that, at this particular time, you're breaking the law. So does that then mean that, so we say, okay, so other sort of companies can open up and say, okay, we want to start doing this now, even though it's against the law, but society, is passive?
I'm not doing that, but I'm not confusing myself with being the master of the RCMP. The RCMP will do what it needs to do to enforce the criminal laws of this country. It's not council's prerogative, nor mine, to direct them in any way. They may choose to proceed on a criminal issue. What I'm saying is, what the municipality can do is ordinarily an injunction against a business operating without a business license. I'm just saying that right now is where we want it to be in the name of the Abbotsford decision in front of the court for appeal. Just so that when that decision comes down, then you know whether you have a tool to use or not.
So we would just stand down. I'm trying to understand the advice. So we just stand down and wait for this appeal, allow them or any others that want to open, I guess, or the RCMP can act unilaterally.
Yes, sir.
Councillor Hathaway?
I want to understand the advice.
and I'm not saying stand down, I'm saying let's carry on. And you're absolutely right, we do not direct the RCMP, but we do have discussions with them, and if they decide to proceed, great, then we don't need to get an injunction or anything else, because they're gonna shut them down on the legal basis. If they decide not to, and then they may very well share that information with us, what they're planning to do, I don't know, but they might. And if we know that they're not gonna take that legal route, then I wanna be prepared for in the event that that injunction in Abbotsford is upheld or defeated, then we need to know where we're gonna go. So stand down isn't really the proper word. Let's move forward within the parameters we have and maybe not take action, but let's get some plans in place for what we are gonna do. And Chilliwack's in the same situation. They recently shut one down and then they reopened, and I think they're going the legal route. And the Abbotsford one, I think Abbotsford is being represented by Lidstone and Company, are they not?
Through the chair,
Read
yes.
that? Yeah, so we can certainly, they're our lawyers as well, so we can hopefully get some information on them, from them on what's happening. But I don't want to just say, oh, well, we'll just leave it in somebody else's hands. So I want to have a plan in place, because I think it's a really, really bad image to put out there that you don't have a business license, we're not sure if you're nonprofit or not, what the parameters are, and you're running a business. We need to look in, that's our job. I don't think dealing with marijuana is our job, but certainly the business license and the business, whether it's for profit or not for profit, that's our bylaws, and we need to enforce them. And you know I'm a great believer in if we make laws, let's enforce them, not just have them sit there. So I'd like to move forward simultaneously.
Mayor
So,
Formosa.
question, I guess,
I'll
for Mr. Fraser can answer it. You know, I'm aware where we closed down that lady that had that little shop on the beach that I own with some partners. And she was doing little artwork out of there, and we went in and realized she didn't have a business license and she didn't have the proper zoning, and we closed her down. Are these people, do they have zoning on their side?
Through the chair,
Like, what's the difference?
sale of marijuana is not a permitted use within your zoning bylaw. If it was legal, it would be allowed under the zoning bylaw as a commercial retail operation.
We don't have that yet.
No, it's an illegal substance in Canada.
Okay.
So it's through the chair, it's a federal offense.
It's a conundrum.
And
It
a
is.
municipal one, because they don't have a license. So I'm just saying, these other people we've closed down now can just open up,
Yeah.
because we didn't enforce here, or are we allowed to pick and choose? I guess we can, who we
So through the
enforce and
chair,
don't.
I think the clarity there is we can't give a business license to an illegal operation.
Exactly.
No, I understand. I'm just thinking about those we have enforced in the last while, and here, I
So
don't
through the
I
chair,
feel,
yes, you.
I feel kind of funny.
Through the chair, yes, council does have this discretion. It can even extend to whether you apply a bylaw or not. You must universally apply it or not. You can't pick and choose.
That's the point I'm making, sir.
Yeah, so what I'm suggesting on this is proceeding with an injunction is a one-of decision in each non-compliant business. What I'm saying is, I believe we are only some weeks away at best from Abbotsford's appeal being dealt with. It would cost us $5,000 to get our lawyers up to speed to serve an injunction. So I'm suggesting just we give it that much more time.
Okay, thank you, and I support Councillor Hathaway's thoughts around meeting with our chief of police and getting a feel again how they feel and what's what. Thank you.
Councilor Brewer.
Yeah, and I agree with kind of CAO's take on it. Let's not put resources into proceeding down the road of an injunction if it's being,
Yeah.
if it's before the courts and it's in this jurisdictional gray zone anyway. It's not unlike discussions we've had before on some of those gray zone jurisdictional issues, like Airbnbs, for example, which we know we're operating, and some of them are not consistent with our bylaws, but we're going the route of awareness while things sort themselves out in other jurisdictions. Granted, an Airbnb is not illegal federally. It's a similar sort of gray zone as far as bylaws
It's
are
not
concerned.
criminal.
Yeah. So mind you, and we've got the mandate letter that speaks to legalizing it, so it's, you know, it is in a different situation as far as this is concerned. So yeah, I like the idea of, I do view it as standing down in a way until we know more, rather than waste resources on injunctions.
Councillor Baum?
Yeah, just for the sake of clarity and common sense, and we're dealing with this issue, since I work with youth in our community, I'd like to know a little bit about the two organizations that are open in our community. Is there an age limit that you can access those buildings?
Through the chair, no, staff is unaware.
We do not know at this point?
We haven't researched it. What we know is that it's a business operating without a license.
So the reason I asked the question is I will be getting questions at school in regards to these two organizations, and since we don't know, I guess we'll have to do our research. But at the same time, I can assure everybody that we're waiting to see on a court decision elsewhere that comes down in about 5 weeks' time. And then we will proceed with whatever comes down the pipe, correct?
Through the chair, that's what I'm recommending, and if I could, for your reference, Councillor, and perhaps the rest of the council, and this is dangerous, this is what I've learned in the last 2 days, but there is a group called the Canadian Association of Medical Cannabis Dispensaries, which is a voluntary organization which retailers of medical marijuana can join, and it has a code of conduct that includes not selling to minors and such. But as best as I can determine, there isn't any law anywhere, because again, it's an illegal activity, so it's not eligible to be regulated yet. But there is a seemingly code of conduct or business that some are partaking.
So if I could just follow up those comments, any questions were asked on the subject, it's against the law, they do not have a business license, and we're waiting to see how it unfolds.
I believe so, sir, but that's my suggestion to council.
Thank you.
So if I can, through the chair, is that council's unanimous consent, as you want to wait for the result of the Abbotsford appeal? Is there any other direction? I've heard a couple of options here.
I would still like to have our protective services meeting outside our regular meeting that we have to have a special meeting of the protective services committee to talk about both scenarios. What do we do when the ruling comes down? Or maybe the RCMP will share with us if they're planning to do anything, and then it's out of our hands. So I would still like to move ahead with that meeting as requested.
And is everybody in agreement with that? So that would be what I heard was involving a staff sergeant, the CAO, the city clerk, Councillor Hathaway as a protective services portfolio holder, and the mayor to meet to discuss options regarding regulated cannabis dispensaries and have some recommendations. And as well, we'd like to wait to hear the result of the Abbotsford appeal before taking any action.
In all honesty, I think we'd be foolish to take any kind of concrete move whilst that was before the court. But I still want to talk about it and what our future plans would be, because the decision can only be 2 ways, so we can make 2 plans.
And Councillor, and I got Councillor Selkoff too. But Councillor Palm, just so you know, the City of Alberni just passed a bylaw in January, and in their bylaw, they said no person shall permit a minor under 19 years of age to enter or remain on the business premises of a medical marijuana dispensary. So the City of Port Alberni put it through the bylaw. Councillor Selkoff?
Yeah, I'm understanding Councillor Hathaway's recommendation to be before the ruling comes down in the Lorraine. It's going to be absolutely clear, and I support that.
Councillor Groot?
Same point, I like the idea of going to the Protective Services Committee, if it's going to consider both options, and if you could discuss some of the learnings or the bylaws from Port Alberni and Victoria, and that would address your point, Councillor Palm, that I know they've addressed the issue of minors, and they even talked about tinting windows so people could see who was in, privacy concerns. So sounds like a good compromise at this point.
If I can, through the chair, just for a little bit of clarification for the public, there is no formal protective services committee. It's just a group. Councillor Hathaway holds the protective services portfolio, and as part of that, she meets with the fire department, the RCMP, bylaw enforcement services, and the mayor is usually part of that. So there's no formal committee.
Yep.
Where there's.
Usually Madam Clerk and the CAO as
And the
well.
CAO, yeah.
Yeah, misnomer,
Is that your alter ego, misnomer?
misnomer.
All right, so moving on to reports. Report 5.1 dated April 19th, 2016, from the Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture regarding washrooms at Gibson's Beach, Mr. Bogarts.
Thank you so much. I'm here to talk to you about the portable washroom units that we're recommending for Gibson's Beach. The report will address item number 25 on Council's action list, and Council directed staff to explore various options for washroom facilities at Gibson's Beach. Staff did some research on a number of different options. We are limited because of lack of sewers down at that site. So again, anything that we do recommend to council will have to either have to be portable in nature with a small holding tank, or something larger with a larger holding tank. We've looked at everything from small outhouses to concrete precast buildings. The precast buildings are up to $20,000. At this point, we are only recommending to council that we proceed with placing 4 portable toilet facilities down at Gibson's Beach. It was for starting April 1st, but as soon as we get approval from council, we'll proceed, and that'll go to the end of September.
Comments? Councillor Selkow.
Thank you. Did you also look at the kind of outhouses that are used in the Gulf Islands Park that are solar powered and that sort of? I know those are pretty expensive, but
Our initial review right now is looking at something that we could get in there fairly quickly to start with. If we do, through our research, find other options, we will pursue that and make recommendations to council. We want to see, first of all, if they're going to be well used, and is there demand in Gibson's Beach for something more permanent. We're not sure what the vandalism rates will be like or anything else like that. So again, we'll look at all of our options down the road a little bit, but for now, our biggest priority was looking at something, because I heard it when I went to the Ratepayers Association in Wildwood. I understand council's also heard that a number of times too, so we wanted to get to this as quickly as possible.
But you know, I did talk to a couple of people, and they thought that your suggestion was the best idea as well. So
Yeah.
thank you.
All right, Mayor Formosa, then Councillor Brewer.
Council Brewer is ahead of me.
Sure, thank you. Why 4? Like, I would think 1 or 2 should be.
Well,
is it
what
really that busy there?
we're looking at the timelines it takes to actually drive out there and clean them. So we're looking at once a week cleaning and stocking. And at that point, again, we figured that there'll be enough of a turnover in there to make sure that there's always one unit that's clean. And again, it's cheaper to put 4 there than it is to send staff out there to clean. So it's something, as we get to a permanent structure, we will have to take a really good look at it. And when I talked to the company about it, they also suggested the same thing, because I actually, even for their staff to go out on a daily basis, it was it was cheaper to put 4 out there.
Mayor Formosa.
Yeah, first of all, I mean, I don't know if it's necessary to staff it every day. My comment was vandalism, we'll have to wait and see. I agree with the idea of portables, it's a good test version. 4, I question, I would have went with 2, and I can use as a resource at the shingle mill when we had we have a very busy boat ramp, and we had a very busy, well, fairly busy beach, the Kingsman's Beach. We had 2 washrooms there. They weren't overused. Mind you, they were part of the circuit and serviced. But I think 4. Honestly, I think it's overkill. I do go down there a little bit, not a lot. But when you add in labor, so if we're going out there every day, I get the $400 a month is not a bad number. Keeping labor out, but why do we got to be there every day? It's just making sure there's enough tissue, to last for 2 or 3 days. Everything sort of goes below.
It is,
I don't know, we can play with it, it's not gonna break us, but I think 2 would be a good start. I think 4 is overkill. But I understand the labor piece.
yeah. Just to give you an answer, for me to get 1, it was $225. To get 4, it was $400. So I looked at the economies of scale, and again, looking at cleanliness, all of our washrooms are cleaned on a daily basis throughout all of our parks. And when we look at a standard of care, we're looking at the same type of standard of care for the people in Wildwood or anybody that's using that beach. So again, it gives them more.
Begs the question, how much were 2?
Pardon?
So it begs the question, how much were 2? You had 2.25 for 1, 400 for 4.
Well, it was just the fact that they were able to accommodate me because of my concern about cleanliness.
Oh, okay, so you didn't,
So,
yeah.
no, it's
We
just-
can guess it was 5.
No.
2.25 for 1, you're gonna guess it was 4.
No, we talked about the cleanliness issue, and the proprietor said, you know, if you do it this way, I'll give you 4 for that. And I thought that was a pretty good deal.
Councillor Paul?
Just through the chair, one follow-up question on the 4. Is there any spacing of these units
We could
along the
space-
trail, or are they all situated at the trailhead?
We could put them any place we'd like to put them. So there's nothing predetermined at this point where they should go. So we could put some, as long as, again, it's not right on the beach.
Mr. Brokers, will these have the hand wash facilities?
You know, I
got-
never even asked, but I can check on that.
And also I was curious, will one of them be larger to accommodate wheelchair?
I'm hoping they will, because again,
Okay.
that's something that our department is really trying to push as much as possible, is accessibility for people in wheelchairs.
Yeah, because I know I've been to events where they've got the ones with the little station with the hand wash. I think that would
And
be.
again, if they didn't include that, that could be a little bit extra in price, but again, we could look into that.
Through the chair, if they don't have the hand wash, they usually have this
Yeah.
cream.
Mhm.
Council?
To council?
Council.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, 5.2, report dated April 19th, 2016, from the Director of Planning Services regarding board variance appointments. Mr. Knight.
Good afternoon, through the chair. This is just a housekeeping item, and I certainly don't want to take away extra time from the excellent presentation Jason's going to be giving to you in a couple of minutes here. I thought I'd take the opportunity to explain what a board of variance is before we actually get into the recommendation to appoint. But any time a municipality adopts a zoning bylaw, there is a requirement to have a board of variance. So this city's had a board of variance for a number of years. We've had 3 people. In larger communities, you'll have up to 5 people sitting on a board of variance. Again, in our case, it's 3. And really, the purpose for this report is that we are short one because somebody has moved on and there was an opening. We've done the advertising, and so we thought we'd come forward here and make a recommendation. Now, one thing I'd like to say is the board of variance, a lot of people suspect that it's really to deal with minor variances, and you've seen a number of variances come before you that were fairly significant. Maybe the board of variance is something that you deal with if you're dealing with inches as opposed to several feet. But it is the case, but there's a proviso, and the proviso is that that minor variance has to go through something called essentially, or prove that there's a hardship. And in most applications that are received from people when they're asking, what do I do, a board of variance application or do I go for a variance? The acid test that we do in planning is what's the hardship? And a hardship isn't a financial one that, you know, it's going to cost me too much to pay the development cost charges, therefore can I use a board of variance? A hardship is usually something physical. If you have 3/4 of your site that has a rock face on it and you can't put your building through the proper dimensions or setback, apply for a variance. And normally the variances that we do receive that do go to the board of variance are usually relating to our existing mobile home parks. We have another one coming up exactly for an issue regarding the siting of a building. So we do still use it, but we don't do it that often. But it is important to have a board of variance in present. So in this case, we did the advertising. We had a person come forward that met the criteria. And therefore, the recommendation before this committee is to not only appoint this person for the term to the end of December 2018, but our two existing members that still would like to serve on the board should also be extended to the end of December 31st, 2018. And Madam Chair, that's essentially the recommendation before this committee.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Councilor Leishman.
I like that he's young. Maybe he'll be on there for a while.
Oh, that's why.
Probably the current
Is that the
members were
reason?
young ones too.
The council.
The council.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Knight. Mr.
Excuse
Gao.
me, excuse me, sorry, I was gapping.
Oh, come back, please.
Would you like me to be here?
Through the chair, I would, if we have not, I'd recommend a letter of thanks to the candidates
Oh,
we
yes.
have.
Yes, I
And,
believe you signed it, Your Worship.
And I signed it?
Yes, you did.
I remember that.
Just telling us.
No, I do remember it now that you tweaked my memory. But also, I don't think it would hurt to give a letter thanking them to the folks that are staying and
Yes.
to go forward
Yeah.
to complete the term to 18. Thank you for your past, thank you for your future, if we could not add that.
We would absolutely do that.
Thank you.
Council?
Council.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Knight.
All right, moving on, 5.3, report dated April 19th, 2016 from the senior planner regarding the sustainable official community plan policies conformance with the provincial riparian areas regulation. Mr. Gao.
Thank you very much. Just excuse me 1 second while I get set up here.
This is funded
It's
by.
very high tech.
It's funded by gas.
Mm. Brought to you by gas guys.
Thomas.
Sorry, guys. Good evening, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Council, through the chair. So, in November of 2015, staff were given direction to confirm that the Sustainable Official Community Plan adhered to the riparian areas regulation. About 5 months prior to that, in May of 2015, there was also a direction from Council to report on whether Wise Creek could be included on Schedule F, sensitive ecosystems, also part of the Sustainable Official Community Plan. So I've attempted, or I've chosen, to combine those two action list items into one report, and I hope that I've achieved the intent of Council in terms of those actions, but I trust that you will let me know if I have not. So returning back to November 2015, this report prepared by the Ministry of Forest, Lands and Natural Resource Operations was presented to Council. The title of the report is Review of Local Government Implementation of Riparian Areas Regulation. And if you could just excuse me, I'm going to read right from this report. The impetus for this review was to review local government implementation of compliance with the Riparian Areas Regulation and report publicly on the results of that review. The objective was to assess the level of compliance in local governments subject to the RAR and also identify where issues of implementation arose. And so just to back up a little for some that might not be familiar with what the Riparian Area Regulations is, again, I'm just going to read from this report. The Riparian Area Regulations was enacted under Section 12 of the Fish Protection Act in July 2004. It calls on local governments to use their powers under the Local Government Act to implement measures to protect riparian areas during residential, commercial, and industrial development. The Ministry of Forest, Lands and Natural Resource Operations is responsible for the administration of the RAR, or the Riparian Area Regulation. And for some, that's actually changed. It was originally the Ministry of Environment that administered the RAR. The RAR applies to 94 incorporated BC municipalities and 15 regional districts that encompass them, as well as the Islands Trust. The structure of the RAR allows local governments to adopt the regulation through tools available to them, in the Local Government Act and to implement bylaws and policies as appropriate to their jurisdiction, provided that the structure meets the standards laid out in the RIR. So, in terms of the city, prior to 2014, the riparian areas were protected through an ad hoc manner, and what I mean by that is they were picked up in the subdivision procedures bylaw, and they were picked up through the building permit process. In 2014, as you know, the Sustainable Official Community Plan was adopted, and part of that, Development Permit 8, freshwater riparian areas, was included in that document. And it's really that document that holds the guidelines and policies and such that then protect riparian areas in this part of our region. It was these policies, guidelines, and maps that were associated with this development permit area that the Ministry of Forest Lands Natural Resource Operations reviewed through this process to determine whether or not the city was compliant with the RIR. So they reviewed all 94 incorporated municipalities and regional districts. So the big question, does the city's approach comply? And it's worth noting, I'm going to draw your attention to this graphic here, but it's worth noting that through this process, the ministry kind of identified that they couldn't just label people as compliant or not compliant, because there was this big area in here referred to as approaching compliance, and that's actually where the city falls, because there was, small minor changes that needed to happen to actually bring it into compliance. So that, as I was saying, that's where the city falls, and essentially it's really the language and the implementation issues. We were one of the 23% there. So the next step for staff was to work with ministry staff, in fact an RIR specialist, to work through our existing development permit guidelines and revise them and to bring them into conformance with the RIR. And so part of the report that is being presented today, attachments appendices A through C, are really the revisions that staff and ministry staff and myself are recommending to council in terms of making the changes to bring them into compliance with the RIR. In the report, rather than kind of going through the nitty-gritty of all of it, I highlighted the most notable changes, and I'd like to do that now. On page 22 of the agenda, the biggest change is likely this concept of affected areas. And so currently, the SOCP identifies a finite list of water bodies that are protected. And that's problematic because the RIR actually protects all streams that are defined as streams in the RIR. So while it's okay to have a list, that's, in fact, it's suggested, it's great, it kind of draws people's attention to the areas that are protected. There's a requirement to also include all of these other streams, and that just can be done in the language. So in this case, if you see the changes I'm proposing, applies to the riparian assessment area of all streams as defined by the riparian area regulation. Simply put, that brings this document into compliance. The next big change was in the same affected areas, there's a reference to Schedule F, sensitive ecosystems. And it's one of the maps that I have on the other side. I'll show you that in a minute. But I thought it would be more appropriate to reference the development permit areas as opposed to the ecosystems, because really this is the map that people should be looking to when they're looking at whether or not they are in development permit area. The next big change, again touching on the Wise Creek issue, was the inclusion of Wise Creek on this list of water bodies. On page 23 of the agenda, two changes to removing two defined terms. So habitat compensation is not supported by the RIR. It's a relic from DFO days. It's not a term that RIR uses at all today. And then the term protected areas was confusing to both staff here, but as well as to the ministry staff, where they thought better would be the use of the term riparian assessment area or streamside protection enhancement area. So where those terms were used, we just substituted for one of those two terms. As such, we needed to include the definition for streamside protection and enhancement area, so that's now a recommended revision. And the other major change is to the mapping schedule. So what I'm showing here right now is Schedule F of, Schedule M, development permit areas. It's not a dramatic change. This is what's existing right now, and you'll see Wise Creek is not included on there. So Wise Creek has been included on here with the buffer in and around it. And the polygons that actually surround the existing creeks are reflective of the areas protected by the riparian area regulation, as opposed to what currently is shown here is sensitive ecosystem inventory data, which is not exactly, they're not exclusive, is my point. So that's the correction, or the recommendation we're making is to use the 30-meter buffer, which is in fact what the riparian area regulation protects. In terms of the mapping on the schedule F, a few simple changes here. Again, Wise Creek has been added. And then there's just one issue for clarity that staff are suggesting, and that was the original, and I don't have the existing map, I apologize. The term riparian was actually split up into two categories, one being tidal riparian and one being freshwater riparian. This is actually more reflective of the Ministry of Environment, how they categorize sensitive ecosystem data, and it posed a bit of an issue in terms of using the term freshwater riparian, as freshwater riparian is also used in Development Permit Area 8, and so staff is suggesting that just go back to the term riparian just for clarity's sake. But that is the essence of this report, and I would gladly take some questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Senior Planner. I went through this actually in a little bit of detail, and I just want to commend you on making it easier to read, areas that if you look, they were covered here but not really spelled out there. And I think you put a lot of work into this, and I just want to commend you on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Burr.
Yeah, I had the same comments. I really thank you for the detail in the report. I live somewhat in this world, so I was wondering whether it was just I understood it easier, but I think it's just the way you laid it out and has details. It's great. And it addresses a couple of concerns I had for sure with the SOCP and Wise Creek. So I like the recommendation here. And I just know this would be direction to staff.
Through the chair, you could do that right now if you wanted, Councilor Brewer.
Sure, I'd be happy to. If you're looking for a motion.
Or unanimous consent would be good.
But it would come, so there was a comment in the report that said it would come back to committee, but the recommendation is to council, so this would come.
No, through the chair, the recommendation is direction to staff, yeah. For presentation, did you want the bylaw to come back to committee of the whole, or did you want to take it to council, to a future council meeting?
Council makes sense.
Yeah, that's what staff's recommending,
Yeah.
because essentially this is the report.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So clean it up.
But it does say there was a public hearing required as
Yeah,
well.
so through the chair, it's just like any other OCP amendment, you would have the first two readings and then there'd be public hearing notice, but staff is seeking your direction now to proceed with the bylaw amendment.
Yeah.
Councilor Leisure?
Thank you. Just a total nerd question here from my background. Where the change is that it used to be development permit will not be issued unless a qualified environmental professional does an assessment report. Now it's going to be the city. So now the city's putting the onus on the province, the Ministry of Forest Lands and Natural Resources Operations, to contact the city once they've received the QEP report and all the submissions from the homeowner or the business owner, whatever.
That is the process, yeah, through the chair, that is the process that the RER requires. So
Requires, okay.
the way it was currently laid out, or the way it currently is laid out, is
Backwards.
absolutely incorrect, and it should actually go the other way.
Okay. Okay.
Councillor Paul?
Yeah, just through the chair to clarify, once these are put on our books as bylaws, 30-meter buffers will be persistent on any of those freshwater rivers, the Wise, the McFall, and any else, should a logging company come in and start cutting, correct?
That is, through the chair, that is a very good question, and I tried to highlight it in that earlier statement, that the riparian areas regulation protects against commercial, residential, and industrial development. Logging is actually an exemption from the riparian area regulation. And as I understand, the logging would have to meet other regulations through the province, but this is not intended to affect
So
logging.
I guess we'll just follow that up with a question to our forester, Councillor Brewer. If the IT was to come in and start cutting, would it be a 15-meter buffer in a freshwater creek?
They would, under the riparian area regulations, they would require an assessment by a qualified professional, and whatever the recommendations came out of that would guide whatever they plan to do there.
If I could, through the chair, sometimes the assessment allows them to go closer than 15 or 30 meters. My understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, Jason, but 30 meters is a default if a qualified environmental professional hasn't yet assessed. If the professional assesses it, he can theoretically extend the 30 meters out or shorten it up. But the 30 meter is in the absence of no assessment yet, and it defaults.
And the point I was going to make was the same goes for commercial development. It says 30 meters, but you hire a professional and they'll look at the situation and they'll come up with a recommendation to try and accommodate what it is you're trying to do and keep you on side non-compliance. So it just doesn't mean, that's it. So the same would go for people logging or people developing or what have you. You need a professional to assess the situation for its merits and what can be done to remediate what it is you may want to do, and however your professional gives you the recommendations to move forward this way or that way.
Councillor Brewer?
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the riparian area regs also don't apply to ALR land, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, just to clarify that, ALR land is not subject to the RAR, which most of Wise Creek in this case is on ALR.
Through the chair at this point in time.
Yes.
Councillor Leach?
The qualified environmental professional, the QEP, is there language in here that says that the QEP must be of the specialty that's designated towards the project and not just, any QEP can sign off on a riparian?
So through the chair, that definition is built into the riparian area regulation in terms of that person performing that assessment needs to essentially declare that they meet the definition of a QEP.
Okay.
Yes.
Mr. Brewer?
One further point. So, Wise Creek is not on land that's currently the subject of any applications for exclusion from the ALR.
Oh, it's not?
No.
Thank you for that.
All right, to council?
So through the chair, we're not seeking to go to council, we're
sorry.
seeking your direction
Direction,
as per
staff,
the
sorry.
report's recommendation. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, Mr. Gao. Excellent pictures. 5.4, report dated April 19th, 2016, from the interim chief financial officer regarding community board grants. Mr. Fraser.
Madam Chair, I am anything but your interim CFO.
Oh,
So, yeah.
Councillor Leachman.
So I have a conflict on number D.
Okay.
And through the
So
chair,
your
what
conflict is?
I did the plans
Um,
for the extended care.
So if I can suggest through the chair that you consider the others first, or would you like to be absent from this whole discussion?
No, not
and
from the
then
whole
when-
thing.
And then when we take it to council, we would separate it. out.
Separate it?
Yeah.
So can we separate that one to the,
Is that council's wish?
Yes.
thank you.
So we're going to separate discussion of item D because Councillor Leishman has a conflict regarding plans for the proposal.
All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Fraser, take it
Madam
away
Chair.
except for D.
Okay, A to Z, Eden. Okay, your interim chief financial officer is on her last day of contractual work for the city of Courtenay and regrets not being here. But she is now dedicated to us for as long as she can be. Her contract runs till end of June. But she's far enough away to say we all are working hard to get her to stay. So what you have in front of you is a list that I think you've become familiar with through the previous discussion. Any report on the community forest is, I would be remiss if I did not say this is the third year where we've had over $1 million dividend presented to you. It's been 1.3, 1.2, 1.3 million in the last 3 years. So Greg Hemphill lies. He told me we should be planning on $500,000 to $600,000 a year, and he keeps messing that up. Yeah, Mark. Mr. Hasek is here. We get incredible value for a wise decision to get into the community forest. So, on that compliment, I have to say we should be looking for some time for the price of timber to go down. But this is one of your financially sustainable entities of the city. Community Forest, some time ago, a couple years ago, came to council and said they wanted to make sure that they had enough sufficient operating funds. That's in place. This is pure profit for the benefit of the community. And of course, you all remember that last year the community forest trees saved the Millennium Park trees, or bought the Millennium Park trees, which is phenomenal. So the numbers are in front of you. The recommendations are obvious that in response to your desire to have certainty about the climbing wall, and I apologize, the second part of the recommendation that the grant for $167,223 for a climbing wall at the warehouse, which is the new term for the mall and town site, from the anticipated 2015 Powell River Community Forest dividend be approved conditional upon an occupancy permit for the proposed space for the climbing wall be issued prior to granting the funds to the co-op, and an agreement with the property owner in the event that the co-op defaults on the rent of the space that the climbing wall remains the property of the city. I'm advised by senior staff that we shouldn't think that this is a job for a hard-working crew of 2 or 3 in one day to remove that wall. If that eventuality ever happens, it will be not a structural component, but it will be a major addition to that building. So the removal will at some time in the future, a day we all hope doesn't come, but it would have some expense. Okay, all costs are being borne for the installation, but if they had to default and return it to the city, there would at that time be some expense.
Thank you. Mayor Wilson?
Yeah, so speaking to the climbing wall, find my notes here. The operation is a nonprofit,
It's a cooperative, yeah.
so we're fully sure of that.
Yes, through the chair, yes, it's a nonprofit society located in a commercial operation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments, questions? All right.
Council?
So what I'm hearing then is you're going to refer to council in the recommendation items A to C and E to K and the climbing wall. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Thank you.
All righty. Pete? Get thee out. Get thee to another way. All right, now
Now you can consider item D,
D.
which is Family and Resident Care Council Evergreen Care Unit for $156,200.
we to council with that?
Council.
Yes, unanimous? Thank you. We're just waiting for.
Councilor?
Sorry.
And just a comment on the report, I really appreciate having all the background info. I think that's really important for our purposes, and I'd like to see that format continue, obviously.
Through the chair,
I think council has taken a dramatic step forward on open, transparent government with this. Not that there was anything to obscure, but it's just greater clarity.
All right, we'll just wait for Councillor Councillor Leishman, and we will, I was looking at you. And then we'll move on to 5.5. That'll be you.
Yep.
All right, 5.5, report dated April 19th, 2016 from the city clerk regarding council policy 259, email policy for council members.
So good afternoon, your worship, members of council. This goes back to last August when there was concerns expressed to the committee as a whole about council members conducting city business using emails, and then of course the Freedom of Information and Protection of Privacy legislation. And at that time there was a few issues that day. There was email, there was social media, there was communications. So the feeling from staff was that social media and communications went together, and I think we've addressed that pretty well in the last year. So the email policy was outstanding. It was interesting when I checked with peers in other places. This has been an issue with other municipalities, with councillors, and how do we conduct business. Some have their own email addresses for the municipality, like you do. You have your CDPR email address. Others do everything on their own personal devices, which kind of makes me a little nervous. So we think that this policy is pretty straightforward, and we also refer to the guidelines that were set out by the Office of the Information and Privacy Commissioner, and the draft policy is there for your consideration.
Councillor Hathaway.
Sadly, I can't argue against it.
Oh. I'm really disappointed.
But when you, I know, it makes sense, and it makes it difficult for me, but when you say divisive, it doesn't really matter the device. Like if I get city email sent on my computer in my office, as long as I access it through the city site, then it's still city property. And because I read this, and then I eliminated the transfer of it over to my other site. All right, she wins. So just to make that clear, it's not the device actually, it's the servers using that you need to be conscious of what you're using. I mean, I have to say I did a lot through my work email, but I don't have anything to hide, so it was difficult for me to get a grasp on this. Well, so what if somebody asks for it? I don't care, but I get it, the reason behind it. So I give.
Well, I'll take that one.
It's a retirement gift.
Yes, it's a retirement gift.
I waited to present this.
I know.
So is there any questions, or are you good to go?
To council?
Council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was so easy.
All right. Community engagement reports. Do we have any today? I'll just do a round robin. Councillor Hathaway?
No, I think my ABICC one's going to come up.
Yep.
No, committee of the whole on the 3rd.
Okay.
Yeah, we've got you your travel reports. We usually bring straight to council, so we had slated you in for the 5th.
Oh, the 5th? Okay,
yeah.
sure. Okay. Whenever it is, I'm ready for it. But no, I don't have anything else.
Right.
I don't think.
Councillor Leishman?
Not per se.
Oh, that's what you should have something else.
Sorry, I just wanted to say one thing that's not really a community engagement, but tonight I'm having 2 legislative interns from Victoria come for a visit, and they're staying for 3 days, and they're just going to learn what happens in a constituency office. And so I'm going to bring them on Thursday night to council meeting because that's part of what I do. So yeah, I'm kind of excited to have them. They're going to run through the what I do in my office, and we have constituents coming in with their issues, and I've given them homework to come with the answers, and what's going to be very difficult sometimes. Yeah, so it's quite exciting, so they'll be here Thursday night for our council meeting.
Oh, good. All right. Councilor Burr?
No, not today.
Sutta?
Thank you. Just a reminder of the Oliver Wellness Initiative that's happening on Thursday, starting at 4:30 in the afternoon at the complex, where there'll be some activities, yoga, the Take the Challenge, if you haven't already, etc. Great initiative. Unfortunately, it's difficult for me to promote the 4 amazing speakers who will start at 7 o'clock, because that's at the same time as council meeting and want to see everybody here. But that's the second half of the program is the speakers speaking on various topics of wellness. So I really support this. I think it's a great initiative and serving on their committee. Thank you.
Mayor Formosa, any community engagement you'd like to report on?
Not at this time, thank you.
Councilor Paul?
Yeah, just one point of awareness through the chair, and that is ICBC tomorrow morning is bringing the driver simulator to Brooks, and part of the mission thereon is to spread the word on distracted driving. That has become the #1 killer on our roads these days. It's far surpassed drunken driving or impaired driving. So our students will be exposed to that with a presentation for all grade 10 and 11s tomorrow at Brooks, and they will have a chance to use that simulator tomorrow over lunch hour. And I can't say for sure, but I know there was the party program was trying to make sure that simulator was available at the rec complex or at the mall, and I'm not sure whether for sure it's been set up. It's too bad Ray has left, but hopefully it'll be in the community. Thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Galinsky.
Mr. Galinsky may have some insight.
I can confirm that it's at the Recreation Complex until 6:30 p.m. tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor Formosa?
Yeah, I guess I could say that one of the files we're working on, the economic development portfolio, Wildwood Interiors, I believe it's called, and Scott Randolph has been working very hard and diligent for the last 6, 7, 8 months with the company. They've now confirmed they're moving their whole operation, and not just part of their operations. They've sublet the old Hopper shop for now, and they were in seeing Mr. Palm looking for 9 young apprentices. Correct? That is correct.
Who is that?
It's called Wildwood Interiors, and what they do is they build interiors as per blueprint, as per, and I'm just going to use a name, Moxie's Restaurant, let's say.
Oh, okay.
So they do the whole
design.
woodwork package for the interior, and so they get a blueprint, they build it in their shop here in Powell River in the near future, they put it in a can, they ship it to Calgary, they ship it to Vancouver, they ship it wherever. A crew leaves here, goes there, installs it, comes back and builds the next one.
Oh.
And we also understand maybe one day some plans for their expansion as well, but I think they're, 15 employees, 20 employees, 10 to 20, something in that regard.
What's the name of the company?
It's called Wildwood Interiors.
Wildwood?
Wildwood Interiors. And yeah, Scott worked really hard, with this group. Very difficult to find commercial, industrial, ready to go. I had that yesterday in my office. I had a person looking for 15 to 25,000 feet. I identified some property with the economic development officer, but it was not enough because they would want to possibly increase that in the future to more. And the property we identified up by the airport that we own would have encumbered the whole thing, and there was no room for growth. So, we did show them Scott's going to be taking them down to the PRC lands. The city has, and the PRC has, and we are also going to be escorting them through the mill, this group. But there's a fair amount of this type of thing going on. And as we get closer to realities on certain ones where it looks like they're happening, we'll be reporting them out. And yeah, that system seems to be firing on all cylinders, and the Jake brake keeps coming on because there's just so much time in the day. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Next on the agenda, 5.7, action list dated April 5th, 2016. Mr. Fraser.
Through the chair, council noticed the yellow highlighted. I'm not sure if it came through in hard copy.
No,
Yeah.
never does.
Okay. In your agenda notes?
Yeah.
A few of the action items, my misestimation of how long it would take to switch from May to June or July. A couple of them are large items, or for the Director of Parks, Rec and Culture, it's important to get the rec study done first. And I know that Mr. Knight and his crew and Jason are busy doing wonderful projects about development rather than things that we had seen that we had previously thought that we had time to do. Development is starting to occupy the planning department, which is good news. So I just wanted to highlight those. It will all be done by July. You'll notice that there's one by the CFO. She says she will be done by June, which is the end of the current contract with her. And I think Madam Clerk has one for June as well. So hers will be done in early June. Because so will Madam Clerk.
All right, any questions from council? All right, we'll move on to new business, 7.1, Dwight Hall parking lot. Mayor Formosa.
Thank you. So back in the day when we negotiated as a city during the joint venture days and the taxation days and all that particular stuff, the city was looking for some benefits back in regards to taxation work that the city did and the community endeared to keep the mill here. You know, and unfortunately we saw Campbell Rivers mill close. One of the things we did was, again, controversy at the time, people didn't think it was such a good idea, was we asked the mill for the old mill offices for $1. And we asked for particular lands that it sat on for the same $1. And we also asked for particular lands on the waterfront, 2 lots in particular. We started with one lot on the waterfront, and then later we asked for another one for $1 to trade for our barge terminal work, so, which the mill gave us, which we traded or sold to the city transfer, and then they sold us the $700,000 barge facility after we had it re-engineered and asked for more stability work to be done, which they did, turned it over. So we gained pretty well. The building in the town site, which I think is a beautiful office building. We took some hits back in the day, and these councillors will remember, oh, what are you doing? You're putting the city at risk, asbestos, you can't afford to keep it, blah, 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 blah. But one of the big wins we were looking for, believe it or not, was parking in perpetuity for Dwight Hall. And so when they were doing this massive subdivision, and myself, Madam Clerk, and the CAO were told it was the largest subdivision file for that particular group in that office that they had to deal with so far in their career.
Through the chair, it's the largest single subdivision detail in the history of the Land Titles Office of BC.
We are not your average service station, I know that. But regardless, I think we did good for the people, and myself and Madam Clerk and the CAO spent over a half an hour signing papers, and it seems they're still trickling out. We ended up with lands, and we ended up with buildings, and with all kinds of things. So the land in question, if council isn't aware here, Mr. Big Map here, you brought this for me?
Yes.
So take me to our building.
Lot 1 at the top, right across from Dwight Hall. We own this entire property.
Right. So Dwight Hall would be probably here.
No.
This is the, up here?
No,
Where's Dwight?
across.
Street.
Right there, that.
This
that
is Dwight
block.
Hall?
Yeah.
So
Despite-
this is where the parking, the mill is, and the parking, and there's a division here. And we all know we come into this triangle and out of this triangle, and there's a bank here. What the idea was to cut off this parking facility, land, and attach it to land titles to this. So that this building, because this building has 0 parking, so that in perpetuity, no matter what happened here, Dwight Hall's lot number would match with this lot number, and that this particular upper portion gets subdivided out and attached to the Dwight Hall. Complete the process. And at the time, Carlos, the director of planning, said, "Oh, please, Mr. Mayor, don't do that. This is difficult enough. Let's get this done, and then after it's done, cut it off and apply for the rezoning." So all I'm asking is that we ask, council asks planning to start the process to create the parking lot, which is that upper triangle, to be subdivided off and put in control of the same lot or the belonging to the building of the Dwight Hall, and that, you know, again, that it's done in perpetuity so that it has parking and nobody can come along there and later, you know, build, you know, condos or something. So that's what I'm bringing up. Thank you.
Through the chair, I think, Mr. Mayor, staff would seek direction to staff to proceed with the subdivision. The director of planning is the independent decision-making approving officer. We've got resources that we're putting together in the rest of the staff to put a subdivision in front of you.
Direction to staff? I see heads nodding, unanimous. Oh, Councilor Hathaway?
I'm unclear. I thought through the land titles when we did the subdivision that that parcel became part and parcel of the Dwight Hall.
No.
Through the chair, no, it is attached to the large parcel that includes the old admin building at the moment.
It's all one block.
And as the mayor said, the
Oh,
director of
because
planning.
we own the admin, so you want to separate the admin building from the park?
So we own it, we're just talking about subdividing one of our new properties into.
Yeah.
We always talked about it that way, so that's why you think it was
Yeah.
done, because that
Yeah.
was the intent.
Yeah,
But
okay, I get it.
we were asked to back off, and I understand why. Now is the time not to forget. It's the time to move forward and put it on the action
Yeah, so
list.
we're just cutting off the middle office from
Yeah.
the parking lot.
Councilor Slipcott?
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a little question about the road that comes from Marine down into that parking, but also the old mill parking lot. Is that going to be part of?
That's not part of that.
The hairpin? If I could.
Subdivided, will the city have, or the community have access?
So the viewpoint is here, the entryway in, and then the hairpin back. Catalyst retains ownership of this portion of it. Sorry, I can't see. Catalyst returns because it has access to lands that they still own here.
Where the big tank is.
So it is a continuing planning issue for us, that hairpin limits the amount of traffic and the safety of the traffic. The PRSC lands are fully developed, and the city transfer barge facility traffic keeps up, which we expect it's a continuing issue. So that, with this, Catalyst retains ownership.
Madam Clerk?
And if I could add to that through the chair, one of the last documents we just signed on that whole thing was an access agreement for that particular piece that Mr. Fraser's pointing to.
Okay, so there's an agreement in place.
Yeah.
So if I could, through the chair, the mayor talked about how big this file was. That agreement we signed off is agreement or contract number 43 to achieve. There are 43 subcontractor agreements to this deal.
Mr. Fraser, so on that hairpin, there is actually area for trucks to go wide and come around. That's not on the road, it's just to the side. Is that part of the upper parking lot, or is that part of the road easement?
I would suggest it is, because I know exactly where you're talking about,
Yeah.
where they go swing
Where they
by.
used to have the car wash.
Because it's gravel there.
Yeah.
I think that we should encumber all that, because a lot of times that Dwight is full. And so it should really take in that triangle all the way up to the old car wash. We
Yeah.
should but, you know, all these things of access and all that, that's what they'll figure out when they do the subdivision.
And through the chair, that's a good point. For the same reason that the director Philip suggested to wait for this subdivision, now that we have ownership, we're going to start to deal in the long term about general access through this whole area. Yes, the vehicles can physically make the hairpin, but not in accordance with good, safe two-way
Exactly.
traffic.
And that-
The hairpin is dysfunctional by its initial design.
Exactly, and that road is terrible, there's a big sinkhole in it now. Was there any thought to recommissioning the road that comes from the north?
No, ma'am.
No.
No, and that might
To
be where
eliminate
we
that.
go, but has there been any thought? No.
Okay.
The idea was to get the deal, it is minimally acceptable the way it is.
Yeah.
But we wanted to take a look at things, what's going to happen here and here will be the determinant.
Thank you. Any other, Madam Clerk?
So just from a procedural point of view, Mr. Fraser, so because the city owns the property, it would actually be the city of Powell River making the application to subdivide the property. So I would suggest that this needs a council resolution because council makes the decisions on the city. This is different than direction to staff to look into something. This would be the city making a decision to subdivide city property.
I think that's a good point.
And
Council now.
I'd like to, yeah, and I'd like to, you know, instead of a big map you can hardly see from here, have some,
Yeah, we'll have a better graphic.
yeah, thank you. All right, we've got
That's
direction.
council, no,
Oh, to council, thank you. All right, now we have a motion to go in camera, and I believe Councillor Hathaway is taking that away.
I move that following adjournment of this regular meeting, council move in camera
Excuse me, am I in conflict with this motion?
No, you're not.
Okay.
No, you're not. No, you're good.
to discuss a land matter and personal information, and that the meeting be closed to the public on the grounds that the subject matter to be considered relate to matters covered by the community charter under section 90(1)(b), personal information about an identifiable individual who is being considered for a municipal award or honor, and 90(1)(e), the disposition of land improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality.
Seconder, Councillor Leishman, all in favor? Unanimous, thank you. And we go to question period on today's agenda. Any questions from, we don't need press? Well, we got internet, television, Mr.
No questions, Your Worship.
Thank you, Mr. Whitaker. And questions from the gallery? Mr. Hassett.
That bylaw you were just talking about on the creeks there, 30 meters, is that for all all fish creeks, is that correct?
All streams.
Streams?
All streams that would meet the definition under the riparian area regulations.
Okay, so you're putting the bylaw in place. Now,
Excuse me, isn't it already in place?
It's, yeah, we're not.
Provincial regulation.
It's a provincial regulation. It's a riparian area regulation that exists.
Yeah, our guidelines, bylaws, SOCP weren't consistent with the provincial regulations.
Right.
So
We're amending our bylaw so it's consistent with the provincial regulation.
yeah, but if you get a fish person or whatever to come in and say you can deal with that closer to the creek, will your bylaw super exceed that?
No.
Where you can't touch
Through the
it?
chair, no, that's a legislative impossibility. We can't ever trump the province.
Okay,
All right.
that's all I was wondering. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconder? Thank you. All in favor? We are adjourned at 5:14.